Storytime about how I've never farted in front of my boyfriend and can't even poop if he's in my house, which led me to pooping in my car by mistake. Disclaimer is not my storytime, was sent to me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 months. We are so in love and we met through a dating app. He even moved into my apartment, I know, some might say it's quick, but it's just meant to be. We are so in love. We get along super well. We're so attracted to each other. Our sexy time is like amazing, like the best I have ever had. And I was the one that asked him to move in with me and he said yes right away. I actually thought he was going to say no, but he was so down for it that I was so happy. Before he moved in, he actually would come over to my house all the time. And he started farting in front of me. It was cute, funny, whatever. But I can't bring myself to doing it in front of him. I can't even poo when he's in my apartment, much less could I poo when I was at his. So I found myself having to hold it in all day long. Anytime we would go to a restaurant, I would try to go, but sometimes I just couldn't go because I knew that he was there. It's all become very complicated. Now that he moved into my place, we love watching movies. So we were sitting on the couch watching a movie, and suddenly I felt the urge to go to the bathroom. There was no way I was going to go poop while he was there. Out of nowhere, I jump up and tell him that I have to go out. I get in my car, part 2 is up. Storytime about how I can't fart in front of my boyfriend or even poop when he's in the same place as me, which caused me to poo in my car by mistake. Disclaimer, this is not my storytime, it's sending me on Instagram. Out of nowhere, I jump off the couch and tell him I have to go to the supermarket. He offers to go for me and I said no, but in hindsight, I should have said yeah, sure, you go, so that I could stay alone in the apartment by myself and go poo. I grab my keys and jump in the car, and then suddenly, I start pooping. I couldn't control myself. I couldn't believe it was happening right then and there. I stopped the car and pulled over and just pooped in my car. Luckily, I was wearing baggy pants, so you couldn't really notice it. Suddenly, I remembered I had an extra change of clothes in my car. I looked behind me and there it was, a pair of jeans. I take off my sweatpants and try to wipe myself as best as I could. And I actually went to a CVS, went into the bathroom, cleaned myself. I even bought baby wipes. Oh my god. I changed into the jeans and I got back in the car and went home. When I get home, my boyfriend says, "Did you just change?" Then I told him I ripped my pants somehow in the grocery store. And then he said, "You didn't bring anything back from the grocery store." And I didn't know what to say. Part 3 is up. Storytime about how I can't fart in front of my boyfriend and this caused me to poop in my car by mistake. Disclaimer is not my storytime, it was on me on Instagram. I told him that I had ripped my pants, so I changed into other pants. And then he asked, "But you didn't bring anything back from the supermarket." And I said, "Oh yeah, you're right." Then I told him that I went to CVS instead because I needed baby wipes, which I actually did buy them, so I showed them to him. But let's remember I had just pooped on myself, so I really wanted to take a shower. So I tell him, "Hey babe, I'm actually gonna take a shower because I just got my period." Then he says, "But you just had your period last week." I just kept digging a bigger and bigger grave. And he sits me down and says, "What's going on?" I just couldn't lie anymore. And I told him the truth, that I had pooped in the car because I didn't want to poop in the apartment because he was there. That's when he started laughing maniacally and told me that I was being so stupid. To this day, I still can't fart in front of my boyfriend. And I still can't go to the bathroom. I'm not sure how to fix this or how to even go about actually doing it for the first time. So maybe you guys have some ideas. Also, never going back to that CVS because I'm pretty sure I didn't put the pants in the trash and they were just lying on the floor and they saw me go in. What should I do? Storytime about how a strange man abused me because I didn't want to give him my phone number. Disclaimer, this is not my storytime, it's sending me on Instagram. I'm a 34-year-old mother of 2. I'm also a single mom, but I do own my own bakery. Most days I work from home, but I do go to the bakery every single day to open and close. I usually have about 4 employees at the bakery at once because we get really busy. On this occasion, one of my workers called out sick, so I decided to step in for her. I dropped my kids off at school and then I went straight to the bakery. Let me just fill you guys in on what I was wearing. I had on a matching set of activewear, so blue leggings and a blue top, which covered my stomach. In other words, I wasn't showing a lot of skin. When I get to the bakery, I see a man sitting in the corner. He had purchased his food and he was eating. I had a quick chat with all my employees asking them how the day was going, and they told me that the man had kept staring at them the entire time. And I look at the guy and sure enough, he is staring at all of us. I asked them to just ignore him. But this was a huge mistake. After a few minutes, the man came back up to the counter. He asked me for a sandwich and I gave it to him. He paid and went back to sit down, but then kept staring at me the entire time. And at my other female employees. Part 2 is up. Storytime about how a strange man abused me because I didn't want to give him my phone number. Disclaimer, is not my storytime, instead of me on Instagram. The guy just kept staring at me and my employees. After a bit, I asked him if he was okay and if he wanted something else. Obviously, he said no and just kept sitting at the table. But again, he kept staring at my employees and at me. This obviously made us uncomfortable, so I decided to do something about it. I decided that the best thing would be to just close the store. I go to the man and tell him that we were going to close and if he needed anything else to buy it now. Then he says, "Actually, I would like to talk to you." And I said, "Sure, what's up?" Honestly, I thought he was going to ask for a job, but no. He starts complimenting my hair, my body, and told me that I was too beautiful to be working there. That's when I told him that I was actually the owner of the bakery. And he says, "Wow, that's even more impressive." Let me describe this man. He was actually okay looking, mid-20s, and dressed pretty well. He just looked like a normal guy. Then he asked me to sit down at the table. I said no. That's when he told me that he'd been coming to my bakery for a week and that he'd been watching me. Then he grabbed my hand and pulled me down to sit next to him. Then he proceeds to put his hand on my lap. Creepy. Part 3 is up. Story time about how a strange man abused me because I did not want to give him my phone number. Disclaimer is not my story time. I sent him on Instagram. That's when he slid his hand onto my lap. I quickly get up from the table and ask him to leave. That's when he said, "Why are you freaking out? I'm just trying to get your number." Then I told him that there was absolutely zero chance I would ever give him my phone number. And he said, "Oh, you think you have a choice?" And he holds out his phone so that I could type in my number. I pushed his phone back and again asked him to leave. He threatened me and said that he wouldn't leave until I gave him my number. My knees and hands were shaking. Look back at my employees behind the counter and they are scared. That's when one of my employees says, "I'm gonna call the cops." And I said, "Yes, call them." As soon as I turned back to this man, he swings at me. He wasn't able to reach my face, but then he grabbed me by the shoulders and pushed me down onto the ground. This all happened in about 30 seconds. As I'm on the ground, he starts slapping me. I covered my face with my arms and I just started kicking at him. And my two female employees, who by the way are like 17 and 18, start attacking the guy. And then he starts hitting them. Thankfully, two men from the street hear me yelling. I came in and tackled him and the police arrived 2 minutes later. I found out this guy was stalking me for a month. I got a restraining order. Be careful out there. Storytime about how my best friend and I beat up my husband after he hit me. Disclaimer is not my storytime, it's sent me on Instagram. My husband and I have always had a really toxic relationship. He's always been extremely jealous and controlling. We've been together for 2 years, and within those 2 years, he's managed to separate me from all of my friends and my family. I still keep in contact with my family secretly whenever he's not around. I usually call my mom as soon as he leaves the house and I talk to her for about an hour. But my husband somehow always finds out when I'm talking to my mom. Sometimes I even think that he put cameras in our house so that he could watch me when he's not home. I usually work from home, so I'm always in my house, and he loves it that way. Even if I want to go to the supermarket, I have to call him and ask him for permission. But my best friend has always stuck by me. She comes over unannounced just to check up on me, and my husband hates her. He even told her one time that she needed to stay away from our house. But of course, she didn't listen to him. My husband has gotten physical with me in the past, but never as bad as this last time. We got into an altercation because I wanted to go out with my best friend. We just wanted to have a simple dinner, but he didn't want me to go. But I decided to dress up and I left the house. As I was leaving the house, he grabbed me and slapped me. My best friend was outside, came in, and she started punching him. So I started punching him too. I went to my parents' house and I've been staying there since. But my husband keeps wanting me to come back. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for telling my wife she doesn't need to be with her sick friend at the hospital? My wife has a friend from childhood named Anthony. We don't get along. He's not rude, but I just feel an annoyance toward him because of how much my wife sees him. He lives alone and now suffers from cancer that requires him to go to the hospital regularly. I found out my wife promised to go with him to every chemo appointment as support. She wants to be there for him since no one else will be beside him. I had no issue with that at first, but this is starting to affect me. I can't see my friends because I have to stay with my son on the days my wife goes, and I talk to her, but she says he needs company. Last week was my last straw. Am I the asshole for telling my wife she doesn't need to be with her sick friend at the hospital? Anthony had another chemo session treatment, and my wife wanted to go with him and asked me to stay home with our son. I told her I had a meetup with my mom and sister to eat lunch and I won't be home. She said she needed to be with him and I flipped out at her and said she doesn't need to be with him and could literally go see him at home. She threw a fit and called me cruel for forcing her to leave Anthony by himself and that I was making her look bad. She said my appointment with my mom and sister wasn't as important, but I decided to leave. When I got back home, she started ignoring me for not letting her be there to support Anthony. Her friends think I'm a controlling jerk with no consideration. Am I the asshole for canceling the trip after my fiance brought her 10-year-old son with us? Me and Natalie have been together for 2 years. We're getting married soon and she shares custody of her 10-year-old son with her ex-husband. Ever since her ex got sick, Natalie kept bringing her son over more often. Sometimes her mom would take him due to work, etc. This has been causing issues because Natalie tries to bring my stepson with us whenever we go out. We started going out less and less and it's been a month and her ex got better. I arranged a trip to the beach for a weekend and it's supposed to be a couple getaway. She was excited for it and prepared for everything. Then this happened. Am I the asshole for canceling the trip after my fiance decided to bring her 10-year-old son with us? The night before the trip, she comes up to me and says, "Hey, Tom is sick again," and asked if I could take Taylor. I asked what she told him and she said she agreed. She then proceeded to tell me that she'd like to take Taylor to the beach. I got upset and told her not to bother because the trip was officially canceled. She looked shocked and I said she ruined yet another opportunity for us to have quality alone time together. She said she couldn't believe I expect her to ditch her son after no one else could watch him. I went with the guys instead and she's been really upset saying we could have at least had some family time. Am I the asshole?